the protests that have roiled parts of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar over the last few days, and coming as they do ahead of election season, they have quite expectedly taken a political turn. So this is the story. Applicants and candidates for about 30,000 odd railway jobs have come in large numbers. Over 1 crore of applications came in for these jobs. And some of the candidates are protesting the rules and regulations, which they say puts those with lower qualifications at a disadvantage. So the rules essentially allow those with higher qualifications to still apply for jobs that require a lower minimum qualification. And these protesting candidates say that this means those who have higher qualifications will crowd out even jobs that are not meant for them, which will be unfair to the others. The protest took a violent turn in some parts in Bihar, especially a standing train was attacked, set fire to. The police cracked down quite hard in Uttar Pradesh, and then some policemen were hauled up because of this. Opposition parties are saying that this is because of complete mismanagement. And the real story is about the unemployment situation, because at the end of the day, why did so many qualified candidates, many of them graduates, apply for these jobs in the railways? And that's really what we're going to talk about today, because if you look at the way employment has been moving, this has also been the year of the Great Resignation, as we have been discussing quite often on the show. That means in certain sectors, in certain kinds of jobs, people are quitting and moving to other lucrative posts. There are some skills that are so in demand that those who are hiring just cannot find the candidates to fill up those positions. They're paying top dollar for whoever can come in and do it. So you have this conundrum where you have jobs with no one to fill them, and then you have candidates with no jobs for them, which is why we need a nuanced, more careful look at exactly what is going on. Helping us do that today is Rituparna Chakraborty. She's Executive Vice President and co-founder at Teamlease. I'm also speaking with Abhik, Ghosh, who's former IAS and ILO official. Welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for joining us this evening on the India Development Debate. Mr. Ghosh, let me just get your overview. What is the big lesson coming out from what we have seen in these protests in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh and the huge clamor for jobs in the railway sector? They're not necessarily the most high-paying jobs or the most exciting jobs, but yet there is a huge number of people who want those jobs.
Yes, as you say, that this is the conundrum, because you have people who are not qualified for the skills that are needed in today's job market, and even those who have higher qualifications are willing to go for lower paid jobs and lower category jobs. Now, what we have in front of us now, the Bihar Bandh has just been in today's, today there was this Bihar Bandh, and we are looking at 6 categories of employment that were notified and advertised and for which examinations were held. Now, 5 of those categories were for graduates and 1 category was for non-graduates, for intermediates and school finalists. And yet, I think there was some procedural problems and irregularities that the Railway Recruitment Board could not quite manage, and because of which there were, different examinations, different results were declared, and people who were qualified for all categories were put in all these results. So there's a lot of resentment that, although, see, the problem basically is that jobs that are available today for youth who are really not qualified for, as you say, top dollar jobs, they are in the public sector. So it is the railways, one of the largest employers, who are looking at who are providing this. Now, if the candidates find that they are being cheated or deprived or unable to compete for whatever reason, then there is resentment, and that is how this whole thing started in Bihar and UP. And Bihar Bandh was a culmination of all this, and a lot of police cases have been filed, a lot of violence and protests have taken place. So it is indicative of the mismatch in the job market between skills and the demand for skills. And this is an endemic situation in the Indian job.
Sure.
So
we have to understand this a little more carefully. Let me come to you on this, Ritu. Is the qualification of a graduate really enough for a decent job with a decent wage right now in India? Because that truly is the question, isn't it? A lot of the youth just about manage to graduate and they think that arms them with something. Does it really arm them with the qualifications to succeed and to improve their lot?
Thanks so much. Good to be back, Tamanna. I hope you're doing well. I think just to on the opening remarks that you made, if I may just add a few thoughts, and then I will come directly to the point that you're specifically asking about graduates. I think about this whole railway recruitment incident which happened in Bihar and then, of course, erupted in certain parts of UP. Of course, there is one school of thought which is going to make a case about the perceived upside. Some people think of having a government job, which essentially ends up attracting disproportionately large number of applicants as against the number of open positions. That debate, I think, can take hours to address. So we're not getting into that. There is also another reality today is that if I see the last 5 years data, the net increase in the number of government jobs have been decreasing year on year. And there are also data which suggests that there are many jobs out there which are lying vacant. One has to accept and acknowledge the fact, like in private sector, everybody is trying to improve productivity at workplaces. I'm sure government is doing the same. So there could be some facts hidden in that. I think the railway recruitment incident in Bihar and other parts in UP essentially is indicative not only of the structural challenges in employment, as it is as much indicative also of the vastly inequitable economic divide between different states in India. And I think this requires interventions from the state's perspective to make, especially the eastern and some northern parts of India, a job magnet. And it's not just government jobs, it's just the net quality of local jobs that has to increase. And honestly, that can happen if each state government starts focusing more in terms of improving the industrialization so that there is high quantity of good quality jobs created. There needs to be focus on financialization, small, medium organizations, companies, small-time startups, entrepreneurs. We incentivize them with the right financial schemes to be able to encourage them to become job creators. Urbanization, why is it that we constantly debate that it's the southern part of India has all the jobs, economic activity? I mean, the challenge or the conundrum that you shared at the beginning actually is a reality of the southern part of India and probably some part of the western India. While there are lots and lots of unemployed youth in the northern and eastern part of India. Formalization, I think people have jobs, they don't have the jobs that, or they don't have the wages that they aspire for. So can we look at how can we create incentives locally rather than them moving thousands and 1,500 kilometers away to get themselves a decent job? And of course, the skill development and how can we improve the human capital quotient? And that essentially will lead on to answering the question that you asked me about graduates. Honestly, underemployment has been a chronic structural problem in India, and that emanates from the fact that while as per NOC data, 90% of the colleges and universities is providing knowledge, and in quotes, 90% of our jobs in India require skills, specific skills. So this mismatch is pretty much the reason why we are in a situation of severe underemployment or subsistence employment. And that actually encompasses, as of today, 58% of our graduates. Until and unless we create some kind of a connect between the demand that exists in the country from the different organizations, we also create a self-healing ecosystem which understands the changes. Like today, change is happening in workplaces much faster. And if our education system and employability situation does not react to that, that's why executing on the national education policy, which is very well crafted in 2020, is absolutely essential to actually tackle this problem. And this itself, in itself, could be a significant solution to this problem.
Yeah. So we have the NEP. We've had a skill development program from the government for years, which didn't really take off. Then you had a skill development program, which then saw the private sector participate in this. But the fact is that all of these have not really moved anywhere. Let me come to Mr. Ghosh on this point. Let's look at what the policy response has been. And Rituparna spoke about how certain states suffer from more unemployment issues. So the highest in that list is Haryana at 34.1% as per CMIE data, which still has a fairly developed one space of Gurgaon where a lot of companies are there. But my question is that even a state like Haryana now has responded by saying let's reserve jobs for locals in the private sector. Many other states are following suit. That seems to be the primary policy response. Do you think that even works? That you don't have enough jobs in the government space, the government doesn't want to hire everyone anymore, it's inefficient, so they're saying okay, let's get private companies to start reserving jobs for locals.
Well, maybe Haryana can get away with it because you have Gurgaon and you have industries coming in this area and this ecosystem. What about Bihar? When Bihar, the unemployment rate is perhaps the worst, and there is no industry there. So even if you try to, if the Bihar government tries to reserve jobs for Biharis in, industries or enterprises or any kind of economic activities, there are hardly any. So that response is really rather myopic. It might help somewhere or somewhere, but it doesn't address the policy issue as such. And therefore, I don't think that will be the right way to go. Question is, again, we are looking at it's a repetition, but the mismatch is so stark that the requirements of the job market are on one side, and the availability of skills is so sort of poor, and the chasm is so wide that really, again, that is the reason basically why they hanker after low-paid government jobs, because that is the only certainty, the only way that they can get some kind of livelihood, and they are prepared even if. And having said that, there is of course, a global study that ILO has conducted that the pandemic has really caused a job loss of 2.5 crores, and almost 40 crore informal sector workers have descended or been pushed back into poverty, which leads to inequalities. So these are some global figures, but different states, different areas within the country have different problems. The question again is that how do we really, the jobs of the future, what we call the future of work, how do we really address it, and in a short period of time, how we create manufacturing jobs, formal sector jobs? These are the issues, and there is no shortcut, there is no magic wand that you will suddenly start getting this kind of thing. So these are issues which we have to
In fact, Bihar, as per that same data, has a 16% unemployment rate, so significantly lower than Haryana. But the fact is that government jobs still are very highly sought after. And Rituparna, I want you to address this. Is it because private sector jobs, which are supposed to be good, secure jobs, are still relatively few? What is the attraction that continues for government jobs? Is it just the job security, or that you know that once you get into one of these jobs, you're set, your sphere of influence grows? How do you decode this?
Yes. So first and foremost, Tamanna, due regards to the data, but if I were to speak from ground reality, the situation is Bihar any day. I can argue to any end, to any extent on this fact is far worse than what it is in reality in Haryana. Also, this protectionism, policy of securing jobs, honestly, industry has options, and finally industry can succeed and compete globally based if they build a culture of meritocracy. So the skills are not available, if the talent are not there, they will look at other options. Remote working is there, so honestly location has stopped mattering for many industries. So now the point that we are discussing about why is government jobs attractive? Well, for the very same reasons that government jobs are attractive for the applicants are probably one of the reasons that there is a bit of self-reflection that is going on within government organizations as well. The state governments, central governments, where if they are also sensing that there is no culture of meritocracy, there is no performance management, essentially. And hence, every hire that they are also making, at some point, they need to be very careful about the justification behind it. So there is pull in different directions, honestly, and that is essentially widening the gap more and more. So fewer government jobs are coming out and more applications. Honestly, the solution is not to focus on government jobs. The solution is to focus on what are the ground level execution and policy intervention that the state governments need to make themselves job magnets, to make themselves viable from every possible perspective. And I keep repeating the 5 things that they need to focus on so that industry feels that they can thrive, that there is an ecosystem all around, a surround sound, inclusive of all aspects, including availability of skills, that encourages them to set up and create and contribute to jobs locally. So I personally feel that this is not a flick of the pen, honestly, strategy that will work here. One really needs to commit to making the eastern and northern part of India an economically thriving part of India. I mean, remaining wastelands and expecting somehow the youth will have options and such chaos won't happen is not going to happen. It's being delusional.
Yep, it's going to be a lot of, it's going to need a lot of hard work, a very close look at what the endemic issues are, and closing that gap between what is available and what is required in terms of skills is truly the need of the hour. Thank you so much, Rituparna and Mr. Ghosh, for joining us on this conversation.